I'm going to call the planning board meeting to order of April 27th, 2020. Roll call, Margaret Sweet,
Here.
Steve Taylor,
Yes, I'm here.
John Souza,
Present.
Kevin Mello,
Present.
and Lori Miller is present. We have a full board. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the continued public hearing for definitive subdivision OSRD Windsong Acres, and I understand we have an email from them asking us to continue it to 5/11/2020. Is that correct, Christine?
That is correct. They are responding to DPW comments at this time.
Okay, so I need a motion to continue Windsong Acres to 5/11/2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by, excuse me.
By Steve.
Motion was made by Steve, and it was seconded by Kevin. All in favor, Margaret?
Yes, aye. Yep.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Lori Miller? The motion is unanimous to move the, to continue the hearing to 5/11/2020. Okay, the second thing on the agenda is amendment to approve site plan application, Pascomansit Office Park, Fons Corner, Lot 4. I understand Margaret will be recusing herself from this, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Christine, you have the floor.
We do have a number of people that are on to present. I don't know if it'll be, who is going to be presenting, if it's going to be Mark or Zach or Ken.
I'll start out,
Okay,
Christine.
Okay, so this is
This
Mark
is-
Bobrowski.
Okay,
Good evening, everybody. Hoping that you're weathering this crisis well. Mark Bobrowski, my office is in Concord. I represent Ken Steen in his incarnation here as various LLCs. This is a minor change, we think, to Lot 2 and Lot 4 stormwater flow. Zach Gless, our engineer from Existing Grade, Inc., I saw he just joined a second ago. So I'll ask Zach to give a quick summary of the changes that were made on this site plan.
Good evening. This is Zach from Existing Grade. And as Mark said, we made a couple minor changes to Lot 4 and subsequently Lot 2. What happened was we went out and did some test pits, and the on-site drainage for Lot 2 is not able to be done because of what was found during those test pits. So we've in turn taken all this stormwater from Lot 2 and are incorporating it into the pond for Lot 4. So the changes that happened were that the pond expanded in size. We've increased the pipe sizes to accommodate Lot 2's storm flow, and then we just added one intercepting manhole. I don't know if you remember, on the east side of Lot 2, there's a driveway that connects Lot 3 to the main drive of Lot 4. So we threw a new manhole in there to intercept Lot 2 and add it into the flow. And that is basically the extent of what's going on. Again, it's just to take that stormwater flow from Lot 2 and put it into the main pond.
anyone else on the presentation team want to make a comment?
I mean,
No, I think that's our presentation. It's very minor change, and we're just hoping to get the board's approval of this small modification.
Thank you. Christine?
I have forwarded all of the materials to DPW. We have not had comment back from them on this particular issue yet. So I would advise the planning board, given all of the issues, that the conditions that we're all working from, I would, maybe give the DPW a little bit more time. I don't think it's necessary for the applicant necessarily to come back in any form. I think DPW just needs to finalize the review, because there were so many concerns with the initial drainage submission as it was set up. So I would just advise you to allow me to forward it, to approve it once DPW review is complete.
So Christine, your recommendation to the board is that we can approve this
Conditional upon DPW
on
approval.
condition that DPW comes back with the approval and you approve.
Because the modifications are, you know, a little bit more involved. Their modifications are limited to the sizing, the pipe sizing, the structures, the drainage basin. Like they said, it's just slightly enlarged, but again, I'm not comfortable having you all make that decision, and I'm not comfortable making that decision myself, considering the issues with drainage. So,
Orianne, may I ask a question?
Yes, Steve?
I have a question for Zach. In his very brief presentation, he said something about the initial plan that they were revising found a problem in pond 1 or the first pond, and then they went to switch. I'd like to know what that problem was.
Well, so what it was we did some test pits out there, and groundwater on lot 2 was a little bit higher than anticipated for that Dunkin' Donuts lot. So in doing so, that to either design around that would have lifted up the entire site, or the other alternative was to take the flow from lot 2 and put it into the main pond on that drive for lot 4, which is, you know, obviously I believe it's the better solution to that. So.
And are you comfortable that that pond where you're going to add this additional water will truly hold it and it's not going to spill off in other neighbors and things like that?
Yes, because again, part of the design is to make sure that that pond is sized appropriately, and the redesign that we did for this pond when we increased the size was making sure that all of that extra stormwater flow coming in is able to be accommodated and held in that pond.
So that's what we need DPW to agree about. Is that right, Christine?
yes, we just want them to look at the drainage to make sure. Initially, when the initial project came before us, at one point, one of the planning board members had asked about maybe putting all of the drainage on lot 4. So it was something that it seemed like the logical thing to do anyway. So I don't think that DPW will have any real concerns with it, you know, just whether or not they recommend a certain structure or something like that. That's all. That's what I want them to approve. So I think it can be handled administratively once DPW's review is complete.
Steve, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
John, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. So Mark or whoever, I have a set of plans that Christine forwarded to us. I'm not so sure they're the revised plan. Can someone explain to me what you said? There was only a slight modification to the drain pond on lot 4. What are we talking about? A 100-foot extension, a 25-foot extension? How does that impact the parking lot, the landscaping on that lot? I don't have a plan that shows your before and then after your revisions. Can someone explain to me how small this revision is?
Sure. So
Go
View it on
ahead,
the
Zach.
yep. So for lot 4, nothing changed with the actual layout of lot 4. Again, all of the original, I guess the first time that you saw this plan before we made these revisions, nothing has changed any of the driveways, nothing has changed any of the parking layout, landscaping, it all remains the same. It's just pipe sizings that have been upgraded. And again, the pond got a little bit larger. And what that did on, I'm going to say the west side of the parking lot for lot 4, there's 4 little parking spaces that got bumped out. I guess it'd be sheet 12 of 19. You can see it where that shows that entire pond. A retaining wall got added right there to accommodate the larger size of that pond, and we put a guardrail on the top of it. And that's the only impact that had on the design for lot 4. It's just the addition of that guardrail. And then again, everything else that has been changed is all subsurface with pipe sizings.
What did you say about the those 4 parking spaces they got?
Yep. So on the westernmost driveway entrance to the building for lot 4,
Right.
when you first come in, there's 4 parking spaces.
Yeah, I see it.
Those were there originally. Just now there's a retaining wall along the I'm going to say the western side of those 4 parking spaces. There's a little retaining wall that got added in because of that pond getting a little bit larger. So we wanted the retaining wall right there to hold that up, and there's a guardrail on the top of it.
Okay, so what am I, what's sheet 10 of 19, that large pond?
Sheet 10 is the pond that would be to the southeast of lot 4. That handles most of the flow
Okay, so
from lot 4.
ponds on lot 4. Okay, I
Yep.
see it. Yep.
And that didn't get changed, or that wasn't affected by the addition of lot 2 coming into this site.
So I'm just curious, you said the pond got larger by how much?
Let me see if I can find that number off the top of my head. It'll take me 1 second to find that.
I mean, just ballpark. Did it get extended by 10 feet, 100 feet?
No, it wasn't 100 feet. It got I'd probably say it was maybe 15 feet wider. Through the entire width of it was enough to accommodate that. It's not like the whole pond was a major update. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not.
So, Christine, you're comfortable with the information that is accurate, that the pond did not affect any of our layouts of the buildings, the drive,
I'm not. I just want to make sure that DPW is happy with the drainage.
Right, no, I'm sure. Yeah, I understand that. But anything else didn't get affected on it? Yeah.
I did not see anything else at this point. The plans have a revision date on them of 4/2/20, just so you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you what the revision is, though, in the, but anyway, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Does that answer your questions, John?
Yeah, I'm fine. I make a motion.
Any other questions? Okay,
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Make a motion, we
Go ahead,
conditionally
make your motion.
this based on positive input from DPW.
I'll
Do I
second
have a
that.
second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, so John moved the motion and Kevin seconded to approve this with our town planner getting the approval from DPW. All in favor? John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes. Can you hear
Kevin?
me?
Yes.
Yep, I got you, Kevin, yes.
Yes.
Lori Miller, yes. So the motion carries 4 in favor and 1 abstention.
Thank you very much, board members. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You
Have a good night.
too.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3 on the agenda is an endorsement of approval not required, Little Lucy Road, map 42, lot 27. Christine?
I don't believe that the applicant is on for this one. I had the A&Rs, I don't typically request that they come on. There are no issues identified with this one. This is for one parcel. It's identified as map 42, lot 27. Approximately it's 30 acres in size. It's going to be subdivided into 3 lots. The review report that I had given you shows that they all have ample upland area and frontage. There is also a 50-foot access easement along the eastern side of the property that gives access. 2 of them, they all have frontage on the main road on Lucy Little Road, but this also gives access rather than going through type of wetland, particularly for, I believe it's lot, sorry.
Lot one, I think.
Lot 1, okay.
I think.
It meets all of the zoning requirements for the single residence B. The wetlands have been flagged and delineated, and the determination was granted in February of 2009. The subdivision as proposed meets the criteria outlined in section 1.101A of the subdivision regulations, which requires that every lot to be created has frontage of the distance required by the zoning bylaw on a public street, which this has. So in the description for this, I would, the A&R subdivision for Lucy Little Road, which is currently owned by Route 6 Realty, Inc., identified as map 42, lot 27, is eligible for endorsement by the planning board.
Any questions from the board?
No, I don't have any.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Margaret made a motion to approved. Kevin seconded it. All in favor? Margaret?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Stephen, I didn't hear you.
Yes, I said.
Thank you.
Can you hear
Kevin?
me?
I heard you
Yes.
just now. Yep. Kevin?
Yes.
And Lori, yes. Motion carries unanimously. Request for surety reduction, Fons Connor Executive Center, 500 Fons Connor Road. Do we have anyone on from that? We have anybody on?
So we have Evan Watson from Prime Engineering. I don't know if you want to request that we can continue it to the end of the meeting, or if you want.
Yes.
Move forward.
I just got a text from Rich. He's available in about 5 minutes. He's concluding his presentation at Mattapoisett. So if we could continue to the end of the meeting, he should be available in a few minutes.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, number 5 is the MEPA filing for the title restoration of George's Pond, a native habitat restoration. Basically, this is to acknowledge and file. Does anybody have any questions?
The only thing I would say to you with this one is a result of all of the current conditions and the public meetings. This was brought to us in a slightly different format from the way these MEPA filings normally are. As you can see in my report to all of you, the proposed work is to be done on behalf of the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, and it's for the request of an expanded environmental notification form and an environmental impact report waiver. The project is the title restoration of George's Pond and the native habitat restoration of Damaris Lloyd State Park. The purpose of the project to begin with was to replace existing culverts with a single precast concrete structure to protect the existing roadway. This work is expected to result in improved water quality, increased habitat value, enhanced fishing, and other recreational opportunities. The second part of the project is a controlled 5.2 acre burn in the vicinity of the public parking area of the lot. And this is being completed for habitat management work. I have acknowledged that you have received this and that I would put it on this most recent agenda with DCR's subconsultant, which is GZA. I don't know if you want to put together a letter or if you're just happy with, I mean, again, this is a modification of an existing thing. I can tell you that Mike O'Reilly did submit something. He was worried about an endangered species in the area. He had said that it's been indicated that species exists, but he's never seen the species on the site. So that would impact the controlled burn. I think in your particular case as the planning board, you're looking at it more from the culvert standpoint and the, protection of the parking area and things like that. So I don't think there's any requirement that we have to do other than acknowledge that we've received it and that you've all reviewed it, unless you feel differently.
Any comments from the board?
Yes, I have a comment.
Steve?
I noticed that something like 70 or 80% of all the pages in our giant document today came from this particular thing. And I think we ought to back up and realize that Damaris Lloyd State Park is a state treasure. Dealing with what we need for public access and all of that stuff is really important. I think the controlled burn is completely reasonable. I think we ought to support this and not get lost in footnote 3B over one thing that's never been seen, when this is clearly an effort to do the right thing in a timely fashion. So I think we ought to give this our blessing and just be very grateful that all that land is not being subdivided, and it's also being treated very intelligently with respect to sea level rise. So I think we ought to let this go forward as quickly as we can. And I wish that our state could spend fewer than 80 or 100 pages on this stuff when there's many more pressing issues to deal with.
Do I need a motion to acknowledge and file Because
moved.
Christine's already sent that.
Second.
Okay, John moved. I need a second.
Second.
John moved and Stephen seconded to acknowledge and file. I need a motion. All in favor? Margaret,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Lori. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next thing on the agenda is correspondence. I need a motion to acknowledge and file unless there's something that someone wants to talk about.
I move that we acknowledge and file all three.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Anybody's thoughts on the letter from town council?
I thought it was thorough.
Yep.
And to the point.
Quite revealing and disappointing at the same time. That this is the third time that this has occurred. Christine, I got a question. Do you know, I noticed, and maybe it's a question of Anthony, you could ask him. He sent us this letter and he CC'd the town administrator and a few others in town, but he didn't CC the select board. And they're the appointing authority for the Board of Appeals. Do we know that they have seen this?
I do not know that. Usually when things are sent to the town administrator, they are sometimes brought, in a case like this, they are sometimes brought to the select board, but I don't know in this particular case. I can ask Sean if you want.
Yeah, can you? Because I think it's important that the select board see this. And question on what may be going on here. Why is this reoccurring after repeated warnings from town council? So I just want some kind of assurance. And if
John,
Sean's
do you
not,
want to make a motion to forward it to the Board of Selectmen?
we can make that at the next meeting. If I'd rather have Christine call Sean and ask him if he's going to forward it to have the select board seen it. Are they going to discuss it at all? And if not, then I think it's appropriate that we forward it to them. But it can wait.
May I ask John his concern? I didn't catch up on this and I might want to pull my motion that we just go approve all three. What is it, John, exactly that is happening that on the ZBA that we're not savvy about?
The variance they've granted, they granted, we brought this up, I can't remember how long ago, last month or so, on two variants that they granted. I think it was Swans Corner Road and Ventura Drive, that I questioned whether they were legal variances. Based on past discussions we've had with town council and based on this very same thing happening in the past. So I had asked the planning board that we question town council again on this, and he sent us this very, that's a 3-page letter, very enlightening on pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, slapping their hand, saying, you did it again. And this is the third time that you've been notified that granting of these variances is illegal. So I just want to make sure the appointing authority is seeing a copy of this.
Steve, what basically this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christine.
It's in your packet, Steve. You didn't see it?
Yes, I'm sorry. I missed this part. So I forgive me for not having read it in advance, but I'd love to hear what Margaret has to say.
No, it's
No.
Lori. Basically,
Lori, I'm
what
sorry.
it
Go ahead.
is they're going, these developers or homeowners or whoever it is going to before the Board of Appeals and getting a variance for site plan review. Instead of getting a variance for individual things, like getting a variance for 10 parking spaces instead of 12, they're not listing the variances they need. They're just going for the whole site plan review. And you can't usurp the planning board's power of site plan review. Am I correct in that, Stephen, Christine?
Laurie, I can answer that. So what's happened in the past, Steve, is under site plan review, you cannot get a variance for a site plan review. You can get a variance on the design standards. So under site plan review, for an example, it says, a parking space has to be, X by Y in size. And you have to meet that standard. If you can't meet that standard, you can go and get a variance. But you can't get a variance from site plan review saying, I want a variance on the entire site for everything. You have to be very specific and say, I want a variance on this standard, on this standard, and this standard, not from the review process of site plan review.
Well, John, I completely agree with you about that. So I want to support you on that. I understand many of our rules are written for lots that are square, and somebody has a triangular lot, they need a special exception. I get that, but they shouldn't just step away from the process, and I don't support that. So I'm agreeing with you.
Right, so that was the gist of the letter, but this is occurring. I think this is the third or fourth time that this has occurred.
We want to stop that. That's not healthy for the town. So I'm sorry I didn't read the details ahead of time, but I want to support you.
You want to,
John, I have a question, Laurie, if I can. Attorney Savastano indicated if this goes on, that the planning board would have to take some action. What kind of action are we talking about? Litigation against the ZBA?
No, I think he meant, I'm assuming he meant an appeal.
administrative appeal is the first step.
We have 20 day, as you know, there's a 20-day appeal
Right,
process.
so we could appeal it.
So we could appeal
Correct.
the
Oh,
decision.
okay,
I think that's what he meant. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's the
Yes,
way
it
I
is.
interpreted it, was
Okay.
that. And, I hopefully, we don't have to do that, that the appointing authority steps in here. That's
Right.
why I'm sure the select board are seeing this, that this is after repeated warning from town council, they're still continuing this behavior. It's a bit concerning, and it should be a bit concerning to the appointing authority. We have no control over the zoning board, only the appointing authority. So that's why I think it's important that they see this letter.
John, rather than filing this one, do you want to put it on the next agenda? That way, if it hasn't been given to the Board of Selectmen, we can
Right,
make it.
okay, yeah, I will put it on the next agenda when
That's
we
a
get
good
back. What Christine heard from, but Christine, I'd like to get some assurance that Sean did in fact put it on their agenda,
Okay.
the select board's agenda,
Okay, so we need a modification, an amendment to the motion that was just on to acknowledge and file the second two letters, the environmental notification and the notices of public hearing from the city of New Bedford.
I move the second two, and I move that in the first one, we do exactly as John just described.
So the second two will be acknowledged and filed, and the first one will be put on our next agenda.
Yes.
Okay? Who seconded that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Christine, do you have that first and second?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All in favor, Margaret,
yes,
John,
yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Lori, yes. Motion carries unanimously. Wait a minute, my thing just went out. Okay, number 7, minutes of the regular meeting of March 9th, 2020.
We
Any
can go
comments?
back. We can go back to item number 4 if you want. I see that Mr. Riom is on the line if you prefer to do that, or you. It's up to you.
Okay, fine. Number 4, surety reduction, Fons Corner Executive Center, 500 Fons Corner Road. The proponent, Rich, are you on? Richard?
You're muted. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Oh, how do I unmute
There you
myself?
go. Nope,
You did.
We hear you.
you're good.
So I've sent a letter, I guess, back in March 12th, asking for 30 reduction All but 5 items on the list of required improvements had been completed and reviewed and approved by the Department of Public Works. And there are 5 items remaining, including doing an as-built plan, paving, and gravel base. But all of the other improvements, the poured concrete curbs, the widening of the road, the moving of the curbs, planting of the trees, filling of the bounds, has been completed. And so we were looking for reduction of the surety down to 29,000 some odd dollars. And that was forwarded by Christine to DPW, I think, March 19th. And we've been sending them emails every couple of days since then. And they just say they're real busy. So they haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't responded to Christine's.
So the surety amount that I have in the letter that you had sent me is $27,164.17. I was unclear as to what you meant about that the bank took additional money on the letter of credit.
Let me explain that. So the DPW estimated the amount of the bond should be $98,000. Then they added a 5% contingency and made it like $103,000. And then the planning board said, well, we think that should be 50% more. So they made it $159,000. And that was conveyed to the bank. And we said, there had been an estimate, but they increased it by 50%. So they added 50% to the $159,000 that the planning board had already increased by 50%. And they gave you some $230,000 or some large amount of money, way over what the planning board required. So at de minimis, the planning board should just release the extra surety that the bank gave that they didn't need to give. And what we're asking for now is the reduction from the 159 down to the 27,000, because what the DPW had estimated for the work remaining is that 50% of that is 27,000. So everything's been done except for that $27,000 worth of stuff.
Christine?
Can I speak now? Yeah, so the planning board did see the lot release request at the beginning of March, and you approved that. DPW had not had an opportunity to review at that time, to give a formal review. You went ahead and you released the lot. So we are currently holding no lots. What I would say to you is over the past month, there have been a number of different issues that have occurred. DPW did get back to me today, finally. They have some concerns. They went through the surety estimate. Their estimate is much different. I didn't get this until like 4 o'clock this afternoon. Their estimate is much different from Mr. Aome's estimate. They've also expressed some concerns with regards to a drainage issue that was discovered during construction. I think given all of the issues that have gone on, and I know DPW is working, but again, things aren't flowing completely normally. I think given the concerns with this and the fact that you hold nothing else at this time, I would recommend that you continue it until I've had a chance to go through the materials and discuss this further with DPW, because again, I do have concerns with what they have brought up in the review. And then I have concerns with Prime Engineering's approach to this whole thing. It's not that we haven't been working on it. It's not that I haven't forwarded it to DPW. It's not that DPW isn't working on numerous items, but I'm uncomfortable with the process that occurred today, because I received an email this morning from the engineer telling me to forward something to DPW. I work for all of you. I know that, but I don't need another person telling me what I need to do for my job. I do my job and I do it very well. I'm not perfect. Sometimes if something needs to be brought up, that's fine. If something was overlooked or whatever, but in this particular case, I have been, pounded with emails to deal with this particular issue, and that is of concern to me. It's not right. So I'm not comfortable with advising you to move forward with this particular surety release until I've had a time to go through and actually see what's happened between the numbers that are different now that weren't different before. We've had issues with getting Greg Bonds involved, the treasurer. We've had issues with, pushing DPW. I have concerns. So I would just like to advise you of all of that before you move forward with any vote.
Lori Ann, may I make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to ask one question first. Christine, we do not have anything here from DPW telling us that everything's fine and we can release the surety, correct?
So again, I received the email today at 4 o'clock, at 3:48, to be honest with you, saying that they reviewed the surety estimate. They gave me an estimate. Please see the attached revised surety estimate for Fawns Corner Executive Park. I've completed the revisions for the surety estimate. This does not include any added cost regarding the drainage issue that was discovered during construction. Tim Barber and Dave Hickox.
Okay, Steve?
Yes, I recognize that I'm relatively new to this process, but I'm 30% less new than I was a year ago. And it seems to me that we've got two problems here. Number one is we have a consistent issue with DPW being late getting back to us, and it may be that they're understaffed. So I think that we, the planning board, ought to make a note to both the DPW directly and to the select board that if they need more help in order to respond in a timely fashion, they should do that. I'm not blaming them, but we are constantly delayed on that regard. We ought to deal with it. But number two is I'm very worried that we should not be releasing sureties till we're absolutely certain that things are squared away. So I sympathize with the people making this proposal in a way that because DPW is delaying their responses, but we can't in good faith release this surety until we know what the real response is. So I think we need a two-part thing. DPW needs to either respond more quickly or get the help so they can, and we need to sit on this money until we're sure that it's nailed down. So it's a two-part thing, but we want to be careful in both directions. But if it's DPW being slow, then let's get them some help so they're not slow. And if it's something different than that, then let's be very careful along the lines Christine said. But she should not be being assaulted with emails to fix this faster. That's like greasing the skids to look the other way before we've checked it out. And that's not right. We should check it out and then vote for it.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes. Go ahead.
Christine,
Yes.
do you feel that you're being a little harassed by this procedure that they're doing?
I wouldn't say use the word harass. That's a pretty strong word, but I do not think it was appropriate, all of the activity that went on today. I can tell you that Lori and I have discussed this issue earlier in the day before I received the email from Tim Barber at DPW, and we are going to move forward with maybe setting up another meeting for the planning board and DPW to get together to resolve some of the issues that are transpiring here, some of the review concerns and inspections. So I'm looking at a couple of dates. We had talked again just before this meeting. Dave Hickox had expressed some concerns with some recent planning board decisions. And he has also had, I've expressed to him our concerns with regard to the reviews and the timeliness of the reviews. So we know that there are regulations have to change in both the subdivision regulations and the bylaws, the site plan review in particular. So we will be working on those, but in the meantime, we need to do something to set up to go over some of these issues that have occurred and to get things moving in a more timely fashion.
Well, my only concern is that you have enough work to do, and you do it well. I just don't want you being constantly sent emails that, you really shouldn't be.
Well, so last week from Mr. Rayom, I can tell you, and this morning, I got numerous emails regarding this particular issue. And, the last one, the one today at 1:15, and was asking for more time, which I knew that one was fine. I got one at 10:36 this morning. Could you please send an email to Dave Hickox to inquire as to why he has not responded to your request in a month and a half ago for confirmation of the inspectors oversaw the completion of all but 5 items on the list of items to be completed. I assume that you have gone out there and seen the street trees that were planted, the bounds that were in, the sidewalks that were poured, the roadway that was widened, the curbs that were reset, and the drainage that was installed. Again, that's not part of what
Right.
my job description
Not
is. You know, and things are a little confusing right now. I mean, town hall is not open. We're all working, you know, remotely or in some other capacities. We're all moving projects forward. So I just didn't think that this was necessary today. It seemed like a bit much, you know, especially since I had received something. I had received, you know, items last week as well. So I you know, I'm concerned about it, and I just can't verify the numbers, you know, when I get them at 4 o'clock. So
No.
I just don't think it's in your best interest to do it, because we can't recoup the money if something goes wrong.
Well, I just don't want anyone, I don't want to say harassed, but I don't want to see you pushed to the point that it's upsetting you, because you have enough work to do, especially during this time. It's not easy to do what you're doing now on Zoom. It really is. Okay, that's all the point.
agree with you. Can I
Any
talk?
other? Go ahead,
Can I
Steve.
talk? Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address some of those issues.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, so,
Okay, go ahead.
so the developer, as we said, has put up more than the escrow amount required. He put 50% more than what you asked for. And he also paid the contractor to do almost everything you did, all but 30,000 of what you did. So he's out $300,000, and 83% of the work has been completed and inspected by DPW. So you can imagine, after 6 weeks of no feedback, how frustrated they are that they've expended hundreds of thousands of dollars, completed 83% of the work, and the planning board has no intention of releasing anything. It's unconscionable. I know the DPW is stressed, and the coronavirus is here, but they did have inspectors. We paid their inspectors to go out and inspect the sidewalks. We paid them to go out and inspect the curbing. We paid them to inspect the trees. We set the bounds. The work was done and inspected. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of work was completed, and we're begging them, geez, just tell the planning board everything but 5 were done. And they said, well, there was some seepage coming out of the side slope. That may need some attention. It doesn't need $300,000 worth of attention. It may need $5,000 worth of attention. You can at least release $150,000 worth of work, because we know that they've done the work. There's, in my estimation, $27,000 left, with the 50% factor that you have on it is actually $18,000 worth of real work to be done, and you're holding $239,000 worth of money, and that's ridiculous. So if you want to wait 2 weeks and then on 2 weeks release the $250,000, that's fine. But this is ridiculous. This is absolutely absurd to tie people up like this. It's unconscionable. And I haven't been harassing. I've been asking, look, it's been 6 weeks and we know the DPW has inspected it. Just tell us those 5 issues. And they're not a whole bunch of issues that are out there. There's some seepage coming out of the side slope. All the drainage has been inspected and approved by the DPW. All of the work, there's some gravel that hasn't met the compaction test yet. We're not asking for that. Pavement has been done. We're not asking for that. And yeah, keep another $5,000 for the seepage coming out of the slope. We'll fix that. But holding $250,000, that's ridiculous.
I think that the planning board did not know of any additional money that was being held above and beyond what was requested. So, this first came to light in that April 22nd letter. So that was only the end of last week. I haven't had time to even review those numbers in comparison to this. To all of the numbers that have gone through, the numbers that suddenly appear in this letter. I don't know that. I haven't had any contact with Greg Bonds to see what he's holding at this point. I don't have, this 50%. I don't have, you're saying seepage, DPW saying drainage. There are numerous issues that
No, there's one issue.
we need clarification. So I'm saying a couple more weeks would be wise on the part of the planning board. I'm not saying-
Laura, can I interject something?
John, go ahead.
So it's a bit concerning to me to hear this issue going on, especially, and I'm, I haven't heard the other side. So I just heard Rich Rayum saying 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I think it was, or at least 6 weeks that this has been going on. And obviously he's very frustrated. And after hearing him, if what he's telling us is true, I'm completely sympathetic to that. Yes, these are trying times for everybody, but folks are still getting paid. Folks are still working. Developers, as Mr. Rayum, have hundreds of thousands of dollars out there. Developers had, again, if he's correct, has paid the DPW to go out and do these inspections. I don't understand why it takes so long to send out an email saying, yes, this is done, and here's some problems we have, and we're going to hold back on that. Why is this process taking so long? Is a bit disturbing to me. So, I understand an engineer's getting pressures from his developer saying, hey, I'm out hundreds of thousands of dollars here. I think if that were any one of us, we'd be doing the same thing, sending out emails. Sending out emails, in my opinion, and I correct, Margaret used a strong word, is harassment. If I was out $300,000, I'd be sending out 12 emails a day to get that back. That's serious money. And it's extremely frustrating to not get responses when you're dealing with agencies. I spent a career dealing with contractors and agencies, and it's very frustrating when people don't get back to you, and it's 6 weeks. That is, in my opinion, if Richard Rayum is accurate, and again, I haven't heard the other side, is totally unacceptable. He's correct. That's not acceptable. This town should not be operating that way if what he's telling us is correct.
John, I agree with that, and that's why we ought to get some staff for the DPW so we can get their answers more quickly. I think we need to, there's some kind of a problem as to why we're not hearing this until the 11th hour, so we should fix that.
Yep. And then
I'm going to butt in here. For at least for a year now, I've been asking for a joint meeting with DPW and Planning Board, and we will be setting up a meeting sometime in May to do that. And it will not be a Zoom meeting because this is something that needs to be done face to face. So hopefully we'll be able to meet on a Monday night that the selectmen are not meeting. We will be 6 feet apart in the selectmen's meeting room. That way we can get answers because DPW has a number of issues they would like to talk to us about. So that is being worked on, and hopefully it will be in May.
Yep, I would encourage that meeting. But Christine, can we, you had mentioned that David Hickox has a number of concerns, this and some others. I don't know if I know them all, or if any of them. So for that meeting, can we get a list of their concerns and what is going to be discussed? I don't want to get a concern that I'm not aware of, that haven't had a chance to do any homework or thought on it. So if let's have an agenda and what items the DPW plans on addressing, and let's not just leave it an open book saying I can discuss every concern and get broadsides by issues that the planning board wasn't prepared to respond. That's not fair. So let's make sure we get an agenda of what's going to be discussed.
And John, beyond that, let's make sure that we get that list in advance, and also that we, the planning board, get to put any items that we want on the list so that both parties, we and the DPW, know ahead of time what it is we want to discuss. And the only other comment I would make is I can't speak as a medical expert as to whether mid-May is a good or a bad time to meet in town hall, but there should be no reason we can't meet by Zoom if we need to meet by Zoom for medical safety. We can meet either way, but I want to have the meeting, and I agree with John, we should have the agenda well in advance, and we ought to write our half of it too.
Okay, back to the surety.
Well, I agree with Christine. I mean, there seems to be some issues. We've only heard one side of the story. That, you know, we need to put this off for a couple of weeks. We haven't got a written recommendation from DPW. We need to wait for that, as we always do. But it's unfortunate we're faced with this today.
So
That
you did get a recommendation at, well, you got a surety estimate at 4 o'clock, or, so I haven't had a chance to review it just yet. They have also expressed concerns with drainage. So you do have something from them that did come in just before the meeting, just to make sure that you,
but not a number. Are you comfortable with releasing a number then, Christine?
no, because you also you're not holding any lots in this particular case, so I'm not.
Right. Okay, so they didn't.
And I haven't had time to review it. I mean, I was preparing for the meeting tonight. I can't, you know.
But they didn't even suggest a number, did they? Did DPW suggest a number?
Christine?
I'm looking.
Okay.
They have 55,000.
They want to hold back?
I mean, it just says, it doesn't say whether to pay them or not pay them, or it just says, I mean, that's just the total at the bottom. It says total 55,400.
If we could get some clarification on that, what I'm thinking of doing is, why not make a conditional motion that, I understand you just got this this afternoon, so you haven't had time to review it. But if you review it and you find after your review that there is a number that was presented that we can reduce your surety by, that we do that conditionally based on your investigation over the next couple of days. So they're not waiting another 2 weeks for their amount. So at least we get something going in the right direction, if you're comfortable.
I'm comfortable with that. If I have to review
No,
it,
that you that you see a number and you're comfortable, okay.
well,
I
because
can
I
do
also
this
don't know
before.
what this other drainage issue is, so.
Right.
Yes, that works.
Yep. All right. So I'd make a
John,
motion.
would you be willing to reduce it like down to 100,000? That way we make sure we have enough surety in case there
I'd
is
go
a
along
drainage
with
issue.
100,000.
I want to
I
base
don't
it on
know that I would give a
DPW
number this
you
evening.
was saying. Christine hasn't had a chance to review what their number is yet. So after her review, I want to base it on that number. If it's only to hold
Okay.
$55,000 or only reduce it by $55,000, that we give her the approval to do that. Either one, I'm fine. If we always
Okay,
rely
fine.
on the DPW, so whatever the DPW's come up with today, and we don't know what that is because Christine hasn't had a chance to review it.
Okay, so what's your motion?
I'll make a motion. We give Christine an opportunity to review it over the next couple of days. Based on her findings, she's got the authority to release on what the DPW number, what the DPW has recommended.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to make a second that Christine has the authority to release any amount that she wants down to $100,000 unless she feels very confident that she can document it should be lower. But I'd be perfectly happy to hold the 100,000 until we really know all the facts. But anything above 100,000, she should feel free to release if she's comfortable going through the materials in the next couple of days.
That's a different motion, so.
That's a
Right.
different motion. We have a motion on, we have the first motion on the
My
floor
motion is
to
to give
reduce the surety to a amount that Christine has approved by DPW. John, is that your motion?
yes, and to give Christine the authority, whether it's to hold
Right.
back $100,000 or $55,000. I think she's competent enough, based on her research in the next day or two, to make that decision. I don't feel we have to hold any additional amount unless in her research she's finding out that DPW has other issues out there that doesn't appear on the release. But I'm comfortable giving her that authority to come up with an accurate figure.
And I am too, John, as long as you're comfortable giving her the authority to make the number higher if she thinks we need to.
Yes.
I'm generally agreeing with you.
And the number's going to be whatever she comes up with in coordination with Greg Barnes and DPW.
Yep, I'm
Yep.
fine.
As long as it's conservative, that's fine.
I
Yep.
need a second.
I think you had a second. Steve seconded it.
Steve, did you second that?
Yes, ma'am.
the first time. Yeah.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to allow Christine to work with DPW and Greg Barnes to look into the exact number of the surety to be released for Ports Corner Executive Center. All in favor? Margaret,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Kevin.
Something's wrong
Kevin,
with,
did we lose you?
yeah, something's wrong with Kevin's mic. I'm not
I'm
sure.
here, yes.
Steve.
Okay, thank you. Lori, yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Richard.
Good night.
I
Have a
will
good
be in
night.
touch with you within a couple of days after I've had a chance to review it with DPW and go over everything with Greg Bonds.
Okay, thank you.
Get the
Sure.
numbers correct. Thank you.
Okay, number 7, approval of the minutes. Regular meeting of March 9th, 2020. Any questions or comments?
So I just didn't know, it's probably a little bit difficult trying to do them at home and whatever. I didn't know on the first page if it should be the motion to close, if that's typically the way they're written, the public hearing. So that's like down after number 2, probably like 2/3 of the way down the meeting, down the,
Yes, it should be motion to close the public hearing.
I think it should be closed. And then the only other thing is I would say I would move the board's regular meeting resumed at 7:10. I would move that after the action instead of before.
Okay.
I think
Anybody else?
that's the way, so I can ask Jean.
Okay. Anybody else have any other comments?
Motion to approve the March 9th public hearing meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay, the motion was moved by John and seconded by Kevin to approve the regular meetings of March 9th, 2020 as amended. All in favor? Margaret,
Aye. Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Aye.
Kevin,
Yes.
Lori. Yes, motion carries unanimously. I need a motion to approve the public hearing of March 9th, 2020, Eversource Scenic Road tree pruning.
So on this one, I would just say that at the top, under the heading, we would just need to make sure that there's a title and an actual date on there instead of, it says entitled and it says date. So again, that's just a minor modification.
Any other comments from the board? I need a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting as amended.
I make that motion.
Second.
Margaret made the motion. Was that Stephen who seconded?
Yes.
Okay. Margaret moved, Stephen seconded to approve the minutes as amended. All in favor? Margaret,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Lori, yes. Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 23rd, 2020.
So again, on this one, I would amend the heading as well to say via Zoom instead of the actual planning board meeting room, that type of thing. That's the only thing on that one.
Any other comments from the board?
With that amendment, I'd like to move that we approve those minutes via Zoom.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion was moved by Stephen Taylor and seconded by John Souza to approve the regular meetings of March 23rd, 2020 as amended. All in favor? Margaret,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Lori, yes. Motion carries unanimously. I need a motion to approve the invoice for Dartmouth Week, legal ads for zoning articles, $508 and no cents.
So moved, Stephen.
Second.
I have a motion to approve, moved by Stephen, seconded by John. All in favor? Margaret,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Lori, yes. Okay, Chairman's report. I have two things. And Christine can give you a little more information probably. We had a little interesting thing inside the office this week, I believe it was, where Christine went into the office and found one of our filing cabinet drawers open. And there shouldn't have been anybody in there opening one of our drawers. And actually, she has no way of knowing whether anything was taken or misplaced because it's got years of, files in there. I'm making a strong suggestion that we change the locks in the office, make sure all the doors have locks that work, and make sure that only people like, the administrative aide has the keys, et cetera, that need them. How does the board feel about that?
I agree with you completely, but can I just ask a question? Is it the filing cabinet in her office or in our meeting room?
No, it's the one we have an actual file room, which is between your meeting room and Jane's office.
Yes.
I can say that staff has been in the building and they're working on our ceilings, in particular in our offices. And actually, it was Toby who had found the drawer open. It hasn't happened. At least it hasn't happened at all since I've been there. We never have this happen. I confirmed with both Jane and Michelle. They're the only other two people who go into those cabinets. Michelle only goes in after telling us, and Jane hasn't been in the office other than to pick up her laptop a couple of weeks ago. It's a very uncommon occurrence, which is why I was concerned. I did write an email today to Sean. I expressed my concern on Friday when I was told of the incident, and the drawer was still open. So I told Sean of the issue, and then I decided I better document it. So I sent an email today just documenting it, and everybody that was included in the email, either because they have access to that particular area or because they found the concern, were copied on the thing. And then I did tell Lori my concern. I mean, it's very uncommon. They could have been in a million different drawers. The building is locked right now. So no other staff really has any reason to go in those drawers or to be doing it. Somebody obviously knew what they were looking for, or, again, it could have been, they could have been in a different drawer and they wanted to, I don't know. It just, something about it is not sitting right with me, which is why, the office is never unoccupied like that. So it is somewhat concerning.
So Christine, let me ask you, I thought the town hall, so the town hall is not open to the public. It's only open to employees.
Right, but it's not even open to all employees. Well, all employees can get in, but some people have
Right.
access and some people do not.
So,
Access.
and I'm understanding that there's it's not that new, but a system was put in a while ago, a card reader. Do employees have to?
So not everybody has that. It's a tab thing that I put up against the building to get in, and it's basically only people with night meeting access or early morning access have those cards. Not everybody has that card.
All right. So,
There are other people who can get into the building.
Right. So why is the recommendation only to change the door locks? Should we have locks in the file system? That's quite common.
If we lock and close the door, then all of your things are secure. You have to understand that particular office, that file room holds all of the planning board minutes, everything that has gone through. They were making a big deal when I first started about going downstairs to the vault, and the planning board doesn't have to do that because all of our records are in that office. It is a great system. Whoever set it up, and I got everything back in there since to the 1950s and 40s. There's everything there.
But something has failed. So if this occurred with, somebody got in that room, why not go one step further? So we changed the doors to the locks, but we also put a different lock on the file cabinets themselves. So you have control who's holding those keys.
Well, I think if we close the door and we lock the door, then we could, I guess, have. I don't know if that seems a bit extreme to me, but if you want to do that, we can do that.
I'm not sure we can change the lock. Do we have locks on those anyway, or do we need to get new filing cabinets? That's the problem.
That's what I don't know off the top of, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, the minutes and stuff like that, they are not in any type of, you know, they're
They're
just
not in a lock.
themselves. So I think if we just close that door and lock that door, we normally
So
don't.
I know, I don't know what the procedure is for people to acquire keys to the office. I don't have keys. I don't know if any other planning board member has keys, or
We do have an ex-planning board member with a key.
you have an ex-planning board member with a key?
Yeah, I don't know whether he ever turned it in or not.
But they
Yeah.
might not be
So-
able to get into the building at this time. I mean, it was somebody who can get in the building when the building is locked.
Right, so
That's more than just staff.
what do you mean it's more than, so you-
Yeah, you can, if you have a meeting, I mean, someone can have a meeting with Lynn downstairs and they will come in. She can set up a meeting to see someone and they come into the office. The town hall is locked to the general public, but if anybody in the town hall has a meeting with a specific something or other or someone, they do let them in to come to a meeting. So the public can get into they can get into town hall.
But the planning board, if Christine and Jane is not there, and Michelle's not there, I've gone there and the planning board is locked. You can't get in the plan.
so Larry, if what you're telling me is true, if Christine's not there, Jane's not there, and I wasn't aware that meetings were occurring at town hall, everything I've read is town hall is closed only to employees. So let's say
They're
that's
not meetings, they're appointments.
okay, so let's say that scenario is true, that someone could walk into the appointments. Then if staff isn't there, and somebody's walked in an appointment, you're insinuating that they may have access to that office. Why is the office open if staff's not there?
Well, but the office has been open because and it's locked immediately following, but they're working on the ceilings while we're not there. So they're working on the ceilings there. And they are the workers that are working on the ceilings found the drawer open. I don't think it's, I don't think it's a huge deal. I'd like to not think it's a huge deal, but it's a little concerning. I can check to see if I can lock every single file cabinet. Some of them have locks, some of them don't. I mean.
So let me ask you this, without going into any details, are you concerned because the cabinet and the drawer, there was something specific in there that has been controversial that you're concerned about that may have somebody got hold of, or it was just a drawer?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't look to it to that level. I just don't.
That's
I
not
just
your
don't
concern
know.
that there was something controversial.
No,
But
but I mean, there are controversial projects in town that people are working on. There are, issues.
No,
There
no,
are people in and
I
out of that building.
I'm just asking
But
if
it's
you're
not
aware. Your
It's
suspicion.
not
very
even
unusual.
concerned with-
I've never seen it happen once since I've been here. I've never seen a drawer open. That's what,
And
it's
it's not-
been here over a year now.
And it's not so much that anything is controversial, but those are our town records. And if something goes missing, we now no longer have that record.
I don't
Because we
disagree
don't have
with the
anything
importance of
on
this.
file.
I'm just trying to figure out, are we doing the right thing by just changing out the locks?
I think you change the locks out on the doors, John, and now you have new locks and new keys. I think that'll be fine. I
Not
don't
if painters and plasterers allowed to go in there.
Painters and plasterers were the ones that pointed it out, so they weren't the ones that were the problem.
Well, we don't know
there were
that.
also cameras.
We don't know that, but
There were also
they pointed out, but did they? leave
There
the
are
door?
also cameras in town hall now, so we
Okay.
can see
But-
who went in if we really. I don't think we need to go to that level, but I mean, I don't know what's in the file.
Mhm.
Lori Ann, may I speak?
Yes. Yep.
I think this is probably a fairly minor issue, but if we want to be serious about it, we need to do three things. Number one is it's just good hygiene every now and then to change the locks. So let's just do that the way Margaret is suggesting. Number two is it's very easy to put a vertical bar down physical metal filing cabinets and create a double lock. We might do that too. But number three, the much more important and much more expensive problem is that if we don't want to lose our records back to the 1950s, we got to get the town to appropriate some money to digitize them and save them safely in the cloud, because a simple fire or some stupid little thing that's not mischievous in any way could cost us all of our records in a heartbeat. And every university or academic institution that I've been involved with in the past has already dealt with these kinds of issues. There's no reason that town halls shouldn't deal with these kinds of issues. If we really care about our records going back 30 or 40 years, we better digitize them and save them safely. And that's an expensive process, but everybody knows how to do it. It's not rocket science, but we need to budget some money and get it done. But in the meantime, let's change the locks and just be careful about it, because these things do happen. And I've got many years of experience of various people on various days in a 7-day-a-week operation get into places where they don't belong. And we should just be careful. There's nothing wrong with being careful. And I'm a new member of the planning board, and I don't have a key to that office. I don't know why an old member does. So that may be something else we ought to look at policy-wise.
Okay, any other comments, questions? So we're going to give Christine permission to go ahead and just get the locks changed out for now.
Yes, that's
Yep.
that's my recommendation. I think that, let's try that.
I would second that.
Anybody opposed? Okay, Christine, go ahead. Okay, the second thing under my report is picking up the packets. Staff was a little uncomfortable with going to the police station this week and having to take the packet there. There were some people inside the entryway there, and there's no way of knowing who they are, why they're there, if they're sick, if they're not sick. So the recommendation is being that we pick up the packets from now on at Town Hall. They'll be down in the town clerk's office. You have to call, you can just call the town clerk's office and she'll meet you at the door and give them to you. Does anyone have a problem with that?
So,
Well, I-
Christie, could you send us the town clerk's number so we can,
Yep. I had gone to do it on Friday. We had problems with the copy machine in the office and the scanner. We've run out of toner. We share it with another office, and then another office is upstairs using it right now. We're having trouble getting some supplies delivered to town hall at times. We do have it now, but that caused a little bit of a problem. So I did not have Jane bring it. Sometimes I bring it to the police station instead of Jane. But, there was a gentleman inside there. He didn't have a mask on. I don't normally see anybody in there. He was doing some business. It just wasn't a good environment. He might have been purposely, he might have been, harmless. I don't know, but I was uncomfortable in this particular case, I was uncomfortable because, we're both standing in the same place, and, South County, southern part of Massachusetts has a big issue with, coronavirus and whatever. And so I was really uncomfortable. So
yeah, nobody's questioning that decision, but can we just get the town clerk's number and her hours of operation? What's convenient about the police station, it's 24 hours a day. So if
right.
anyone,
I know but I mean, it also,
oh, I'm not objecting to this. I just want to know, but that's the convenience of it. And,
right.
We'll go back to that someday under these conditions.
So now that we have
town hall.
now that we also have the online access, as people get more comfortable with that, maybe some of that will change as well. I mean, I know that there are concerns with having plans that we can look at and stuff like that. So we've got to kind of come up with a compromise, but.
Well, Christine, I would just add that what you did this week, everything online was absolutely beautiful. The only thing that messed me up this week while I was away a little bit was there was no email that said when it was posted online. So I didn't know when to go look.
So Jane did put it online.
Yeah, she did.
Looked and it was all there. So that was great.
She had put it online from home. So that was the first time we've tried that. Obviously there were a couple of issues because I couldn't get everything printed out, but for her to be able to post from home was a good thing as well. So
once she's put it online, just have her send an email to tell us it's online, and we'll go get it right then and there. That'll be fine.
She usually does. So I was surprised to see your email, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I get all mine online. The only issue that I have is with the maps.
Right.
Because
Right.
I'm fine with it online, but I think everybody must have an issue with the maps because you just can't read it.
Well, I got the maps online and I could read it. I had to fuss around with it on my bigger screen computer, but I did get to read it eventually.
Well, I just can't, so, you
Yeah,
know,
well,
that's,
we get
that's the only question that, and so if we pick it at, if the map, all I need is maps and plot plans, I get everything else that I can see.
plans we do get from the applicants when they submit, so I will continue to get the hard copy plans
Yeah.
from the applicants, and then that way there, everybody's got a choice from which to work.
Right.
When we go back to the regular meetings, you'll have both, you know, when we go back to in-person
Mhm.
meetings.
Okay, that's it for mine. Christine, planners report?
So we're going to try our first technical reviewer meeting this Wednesday, and that's for all of the department heads that are involved in technical review. So one of the items that will be on that will be Penelope Lane. I know that a number of departments have expressed some concerns, so before you see that one again, that's going to come forward. We also have something for the big value lot area, so we have a conceptual plan proposal that is just getting underway. So that's another one we're going to look at. And then I have a third developer that is bringing something that I don't know anything about. So we're kind of moving that into that next direction. I have heard from Sean that possibly the town meeting date might change, depending. It sounds like that's going to become more possible. It sounds like as we've gone on here, we don't know, we have no idea what the new date will be. Again, it's contingent upon how the governor moves forward with things. So we decided on Friday to sign on with a SERPED letter that Deborah Wender had made us aware of with regard to the FEMA deadline of July 8th. So we're going to just sign on to that. And if we can get our town meeting done before then we'll just take our name off of that memorandum, but just in case we're preparing. I've worked some more on the map. I've also worked with Mike O'Reilly to get an update of the software, and I'm reaching out to the website provider so that I can put better copies on the main pages of the website, because right now I don't have access to put a PDF up on the site other than on your access page. So that's a problem with getting the map out to everybody, or the maps out to everybody. The other thing is, I have heard that that the Finance Committee was preparing their recommendations. They had some more questions of Dave Hickox regarding the aquifer protection updates. So I don't know what exactly is going to happen with that. I don't know what the specific questions are, but we've put our recommendation forward, and they're going to do what they're going to do. So I don't know if they'll be asking for more information or not with regard to that. I'm not sure what will happen. So I'll keep you updated as soon as I know a new town meeting date. The other thing is, on the bottom of this agenda, I made the mistake of not updating the schedule for the next planning board meeting, but so it should say May 11th is the next planning board meeting. After that, the one after that is scheduled for June 1st right now because of Memorial Day weekend, because we had put extra meetings in April and in April time period. So Lori and I, when we were discussing that other issue about DPW, I'm going to see if maybe I think it's the May 18th is that Monday. I might see if we can do something then with DPW. I think that's the Monday date. Yeah, because that would give us 2 meetings in May. If not, we'll just be having the one.
Christine, may I interject? I appreciate that you corrected the April 13th for May 11th. I saw that too, and I'm glad you did that. The only other thing I would ask is that and our meeting with DPW is obviously very important, and if you could just also make an effort to make sure, when is our next meeting to discuss our long-range plan? I don't want the long-range planning to slip just because we're busy with Zoom meetings and town meeting dates.
I know that Serped has been in touch with me regarding some updates. I haven't had time to even go through the material that has been sent so far. So maybe there's something I can stop putting forward, but I haven't gotten to it this week. I mean, I've been putting out a lot of fires with regard to the town meeting information.
Well, if you can get to it in the upcoming days, just so it doesn't slip in deep into the summer.
Yep.
Anything else, Christine?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, I just want to update the board that the town elections are on Tuesday, June 23rd, and the polling places have all been changed. Anybody in precinct 9 will be voting at the high school. I think most of us are in precinct 9.
Mm,
I believe the new polling place will be down at the high school.
okay, great. Thank you,
And
Lori.
the hours have been cut. They're not going to be the 7 to 8. I don't remember what the hours are, but the hours have been cut. Anything else?
Laurie, is that on the website for people to see?
Yeah, it is. Just go to, like we do for Zoom,
Yeah,
go
no, I'm
to
just,
Dartmouth and go to election
I know how to get
information,
to
I
it. I'm
believe.
just for the viewing public's sake, now that you mention it, they should know that they can verify that
Yeah.
information on the website.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we can have hopefully a regular meeting on TV so that people can be told this, because there's no opposition on any of the candidates, but you have town meeting members that need to get elected.
I heard there was going to be a big writing campaign for the planning board.
Oh, okay. Who are we
There's
writing
the
in?
grassroots effort out there.
My
I'm hearing
prayers will be
thousands of
answered.
people writing in a name.
John, you can only hold one seat at a time.
Oh, okay. Anything else to come before the board? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second, who seconded it?
Second,
Stephen, did you second it?
I did.
Okay, motion was made by Margaret, seconded by Stephen to adjourn. All in favor? Yes?
Aye.
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 Okay. We are now
Thank you.
officially adjourned. Thank you, guys.